Hey, what's up guys? So we're going to be going over these insane new Yu-Gi-Oh rules that are going to be taking place on December 4th, 2019. Now this pretty much only affects tags, but sometimes on some of the wording it could maybe matter in some really extreme circumstances, but for the most part we're going to be talking about some of the tag duel changes that they've made for the official rules that are just absolutely mind-blowing. So there's a lot of stuff to go ahead and cover here. I'll link the full thing down below, but these are already effective as of December 4th. So anyways, let's go ahead and hop right into it. So first off, when you do register for any of these tournaments, you have to designate a player being player A and player B. So basically one player gets to go first, and then the opponent goes, and then your teammate will then go second, or technically third in the setup the way it is for tag duels. But I want to go ahead and go over the important things, because now how it works is that each duelist has access to one of the two main monster zones on their field, because everyone has their own field. And this is apparently from the release of the starter deck Link Strike. I was actually unaware of this, but now basically everyone has their own field. So think of it like there's 4 fields now, and I know that that sounds crazy and some of the rulings are absolutely weird, but let's go ahead and go over this. So anyways, what it comes down to is each duelist has access to one of the 2 extra monster zones on their own team. And then when an extra monster zone is used, the second monster zone is used for the opponent over there. So it's really weird that they have their own field though. But anyways, each duelist has to use their own deck. That makes sense. Okay, there's nothing new with that. But then each duelist only uses pendulum skills they control for a pendulum summon. So if you guys have played on like Yu-Gi-Oh Pro or most of like the online Yu-Gi-Oh games, you basically will share the pendulum skills, and you can be like, all right, my opponent has stuff, go ahead and pendulum summon. Now, I'm pretty sure how it should work, and someone comment down below if they know exactly, because they didn't specify on this. But if you happen to have a pendulum card that says you can only pendulum summon, like, you know, magician monsters, or you can only go for Klee monsters, does that mean that your teammate can only pendulum summon those? I'm pretty sure it doesn't, but there are, again, some weird interactions, and they didn't specify on this. Another thing is, since they each have their own field, what about the graveyard? Can you share the graveyard? Kind of. Okay, and it's kind of weird, and I'll get into that. So first off, with their example over here, they use Call of the Haunted. You can target a monster card in their teammate's graveyard as well, so you can do that. However, if you happen to have 2 different Light Sworns and your opponent has 2 different Light Sworns, the question is, can you summon Judgment Dragon because it's supposed to be in your graveyard? You can still actually do that, and it's because you kind of share graveyards in a sense, and I'll get into why this is a little bit weird in a second. Some of the things honestly just don't really make sense, that they're just things that we have to know. But next up over here, they're talking about one of the duelists over here has a light monster in the graveyard, and the other player has a dark monster in the graveyard. Either duelist on their turn can banish one monster, one light and one dark, from separate graveyards to summon a chaos sorcerer, even though it's banish one from your grave, one light and one dark. So that does work. But what's interesting with this, it says that if one duelist has 2 dark monsters in their graveyard and their other teammate has 2 dark monsters in their graveyard, neither duelist can summon Dark Armed, as combined they have more than 3 dark monsters. So even if I was to get 3 monsters and my opponent happens to have another one, I can't summon it. So again, that's kind of the more so the shared graveyard effect. Some of these are more conditional. I won't go over every single one, but I just want to go over the ones that kind of matter the most over here. I mean, some of these rules are kind of old, like you can't summon monsters from your teammate's extra deck. I feel like these ones I'm not going to mention because I feel like most people understand that. However, you can use any cards in play on their team side of the field for tribute summons, ritual summons, and summons from the extra deck. However, you cannot use your teammate's set cards, which this is where it gets a little bit weird. Okay, so to give you an example, if I have a level 4 monster and my teammate has a level 4 monster, I can go ahead and make a number 39 Utopian. Again, that's not something that I want to go over. But here's where it gets interesting. Duelist 1A has a face-up Cannon Soldier on their side of the field. Their teammate may not activate the effect of Cannon Soldier on their turn. So again, you can't use your own teammates' stuff because you have to separate the fields over here. Normally, if your opponent, if your teammate set like a Dark Hole on their side of the field, their teammate may not activate Dark Hole on their turn. So you can't use your own teammates' cards, basically, is what it comes down to when it's your turn. That has to be their specific turn. But we get into something else that is actually going to be making it so tag duels are going to go into time every single time, more than likely with this new ruling. And I think it might have been a bad idea. But anyways, Next up, as far as like one person controls a Velocity Emperor, any duelist may use the effect of it during their turn. So you can use the field spells from like anyone. However, the whole field spell effect is actually really different over here. And I want to go ahead and just go show off this. There's so many cards that are weird here, but the thing that I wanted to mention with the whole field spells, this is quite crazy. So each team can only have one field spell card on the field at a time. If either duelist on a team controls a field spell, it must be sent to the graveyard before a new one can be placed, set, or activated on the field. That's actually a pretty big deal, especially if you are playing, I guess, with like a random teammate. That's where it matters most. But if you need your field spell, apparently you cannot activate yours until the other one sends it to the graveyard, which is, again, something that I would find a little bit more interesting here with some of these newer rules. Like I said, I'll go over the more important ones over here, but this is another thing that is technically new, and I actually didn't know about this. So if a card is at 1, let's say for example, we take like Raigeki, right? So if we have Raigeki in the game, let me go ahead and actually do this so you can kind of see a little bit better. If you, what the heck, how come I can't? Did I spell Raigeki wrong? Oh, it's, okay. Anyways, Raigeki over here, it's at 1, right? So previously how it worked in tag duels is either you or your teammate would be allowed to run Raigeki. You both couldn't run it. But now, I guess it's different. So you can each run 2 copies of a semi-limited card, and if it's limited, you can both each run 1 copy of a limited card. But what it also means is that you can't run 2 copies of a card if your teammate doesn't play. So if my teammate doesn't play Raigeki, I can't just play 2 Raigekis. I think that makes sense though, but I just wanted to clarify on that. So this is what's really interesting. Oh, this is where it gets, this is where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely insane. So the first 3 duelists in the duel cannot conduct their battle phase and attack. That's insane. So basically it goes, and it goes from player, you know, 1A to 2A to 1B, then to 2B. So basically the 4th player is the first person that can actually attack in the game. So that makes a lot of decks potentially be a lot better. And I'm talking about final countdown over here because it counts the turn of each individual duelist, meaning all 4 duelists over here. So that's where it gets a little bit cheesy because normally how it works, if you guys have played on like Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro, you know, player 1 goes first, like 1A goes, then we go to 2A. 2A can attack, but now no longer. So there's a lot of more room for cheesy decks to go ahead and see a little bit more play. And again, I feel like the time is going to go into it every single time with this new ruling. But okay, this also changes up hand traps. Okay, so hand traps actually take a huge buff. So it says Duelist 1A activates Monster Reborn. Any of the 4 duelists can activate the effect of DD Crow. Because normally how it works is like, you know, it feels like more like you're both sharing a field, and then like when it's this person's turn, like 1A's turn, it doesn't matter what 1B has. He can't like activate anything. But now anyone can activate a hand trap at any time. So this opens up the doors for, I guess, a lot of more negation, basically. So again, all of the stuff can be activated for the most part, and there might be very specific ones where it can't be activated. But there's also more unique things that I did want to go over. I guess no one runs Swords of Revealing Light, but if it's activated by 1A of Team 1, Team 2 can attack during 2A's turn as the first turn, and then Duelist 2B's next turn is the second turn. So it counts like the other player, I guess I should explain it. I'm just going to read the whole thing. So Duelist 2B's turn, second turn, and Duelist 2A's turn after that. Third turn, Swords of Revealing Light will be destroyed, and at the end of the turn, because 3 opponents' turns have actually passed. So that's kind of interesting with that, but again, it doesn't matter. But Ledger of Ledgermane actually counts both of the standby phases and your teammates' standby phases as well. So that's kind of like a, I guess, kind of a buff for that in a sense. But next up, interesting stuff with some of the burn cards. So a card like Secret Barrel, because Secret Barrels counts cards in an opponent's hand, Duelist A chooses an opponent activation. When the card resolves, you inflict 200 damage per card on that opponent's hand and all cards on the field of the chosen opponent. So basically you're selecting one of the opponents versus, like, normally it'd be way better. So this is basically a nerf over here. Now going into a Trickstar Lycoris over here. So when this card has that effect where you get to do that burn damage, each time a card is added to into your opponent's hand, you actually only get to select one of your opponent over here. So this card is actually taking a nerf over here. So it says, where is it? They summon Trickster Lycoris. Before cards can be activated in response to successful summon, Duelist A chooses an opponent who would take the damage by the effect of Lycoris for every card is added by the opponent's hand. This must be chosen before anything can be activated, and it doesn't start a chain. And then after choosing the opponent, team 1 may respond to the successful summon. So there's a lot more cards that have, again, interesting interactions here. Also, interesting enough, with like hand destruction over here, which is a card for, but like both players, what is it, discard 2 and then draw 2 cards. So it says Duelist 1A has hand destruction, the other 2 cards in hand. Their teammate has 2 cards in their hand. Duelist 2B only has 1 card in their hand, but Duelist 2A has 2 cards in their hand. Duelist 1A can activate hand destruction by choose either themselves or their teammate at the time of activation. So I guess it's kind of a buff. I mean, hand destruction is, again, more of a cheesy card, but it can have more utility because I can just choose my teammate. If I went through all my cards, okay, I'll select my teammate, let him cycle through his cards, which can actually be kind of good over there. But interesting enough, with a card like Xcode Talker over here, and this one I'm going to go ahead and bring up. So let me go ahead and go over this effect because this is more of what I consider like an obscure card. It doesn't see play every single day. But anyways, with this card's link summon, you get to choose unused main monster zone equal to the number of monsters currently in the extra monster zones. Those zones cannot be used while this monster is face up on the field. You can only use this effect of Xcode Talker once per turn. So interesting enough, because each player gets their own field, right? It says over here that if Duelist 1A and 2A's other extra monster zones is empty, however, both extra monster zones are occupied by Duelist 1B and 2B's field, Xcode Talker may choose up to 3 unused main monster zones for its effect, as it affects all duelists. So there could be a lot, again, interesting cards to open up the doors for just ridiculous cheese and stuff. Another thing is, like, can you tribute when it, okay, I guess this would be more specific to Lava Golem, like more so Green Dragon or Raw Sphere mode. But anyways, it says over here they each control 2 copies of this giant soldier of stone. They should have used more meta cards with this, but anyways, Duelist 1A may special Lava Golem by attributing any combination of monsters on either duelist side of the fields over here. So again, there are other things that are going to be, I guess, worse and or better, and some things are pretty much unaffected. Like, this doesn't really change the gameplay too much, but I figure it is important, so like you don't have to select it from one specific field, but there's other cards where it does, like Secret Barrel. Now, interestingly enough, with this card, Evenly Match, which already is a pretty good card, is even more broken now. So Team 2 controls a combined total of 4 cards. When team member Team 1 activates Evenly Matched, Team 2 must banish cards until the combined number of cards they control are equal to Team 1. Now, so what's broken with this? All right, so remember, guys, I said that the guy that's 2B, basically the 4th player, gets to actually declare his attack, right? The player 1A can play all his, if he plays all his cards and the other guy just plays nothing, then the other guy goes on 1B's turn and plays a bunch of his cards. Like, he's got a full board, this guy's got a full board, this guy can go, okay, my turn? All right, activate evenly, and both of them have to get rid of everything until there's only 1 card. That's insane, because remember, these guys can't attack, so you can just go ahead and just go pass, and then Evenly Matched becomes infinitely more insane, which I guess it could be kind of a new strategy if someone wants to go ahead and be like, okay, okay, you talk to your partner, and there's another rule with talking to your partner, because before, you actually couldn't talk in a language that everyone couldn't understand, which I think is kind of interesting, because now you can like talk in another language that they wouldn't understand, and you can basically set up these plays, because that was an interesting rule. This was actually over on the organization page that they mentioned. There's kind of some of the stuff, but there's a lot of other things that I want to talk about over here. But if a card prevents a certain action over here, like for example, Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, it says like your opponent can't banish from the graveyard. It affects both of the players over there. So that is, so like for example, Duelist 1A has face up Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer on their side of the field. Neither Duelist 2A or 2B can banish cards from their graveyard. So that's kind of self-explanatory over there. Another thing that would be interesting, since you control your own field, if it would say like if you control no monsters, you can special summon, let's say like SLAYDRA, or again any card that would say like if you control no monsters, I guess it now counts as your teammates as well. So even though you control no mon in your field, it still counts. That's the way it's ruled over there. And then as far as like secret villages and spellcasters, so this is how this works. if either duelist 1A or 1B control a spellcaster type, and both duelist 2A and 2B does not control a spellcaster type monster, duelist 2A nor duelist 2B can activate spell cards. But if duelist 1A and duelist 1B both do not control a spellcaster, neither of them can activate a spell card. Okay. But since you have your own field, like for example, Treeborn Frog, that would special summon itself from the graveyard, where is it? Their teammate may not activate the effect of Treeborn Frog if it would special summon itself from the graveyard if their teammate controls a spell or trap card. But remember, guys, you can't use your own teammate's cards in the first place, but then like you can't summon Treeborn Frog because you technically control one. I know the wording and the rulings on these are really interesting, and it's huge. Like this does affect tag duels a lot, and again, this is already going to be effective as of right now. But I did kind of briefly sum it up. Otherwise, this video would be like an hour long if we went over every single effect, but I wanted to go over the ones that I felt were very important. And I guess Pendulums just took a huge nerf for any of you guys looking to do some tag duels with some Pendulums over here. And also, the field spell change is actually pretty big too. But most importantly, evenly matched and cheese decks are going to see so much play with that whole like the turn order that it goes into, where like you can't attack until it becomes the fourth player's turn, which would be technically 2B over here. I feel like we're talking about Neo and 2B. Anyways, hopefully this video kind of helped you guys out, but these new rulings, oh my gosh, there's so many things that are just crazy here. But another thing I wanted to mention, oh my gosh, hold on, there's something that's actually important with they use Fiendish Rhino as an example. Hold on, Rhino. Okay, this one's also very important. Duelist 1A sends a face-up, Thousand Eyes Restrict, and their teammate's Fiendish Rhino Warrior to link summon Proxy Dragon. Even though Fiendish Rhino Warrior was sent to the graveyard by Duelist 1A, their teammate may only activate the effect of Fiendish Rhino Warrior. So if you have, like, utilize one of your own teammates' cards for like the material of something and it gets some type of effect, only that other teammate can like search out or do whatever with that card. You can't, even though it's your turn. Again, some of these rulings, they're just crazy, man. But anyways, there's a wrap up. Like I said, I'll link it down below. I'll pin it so you guys can go ahead and check it out if you guys do want to check it out. But let me know what you think of these new rulings. I just think evenly matched and the no attacking is going to go ahead and actually affect the gameplay quite a bit. I'm not sure if they're going to be changing on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro. That seems like it'd be very difficult to. They got to like basically make 2 different fields or 4. Again, it's weird that each duelist has their own field, essentially. But anyways, that's the ruling, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section below. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you made it to the end of this video, you a legend, because there's so much, and I'm pretty sure people are just like, oh, nope, I'm not. Too much reading. I'm out. I understand, man. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one, and I'm signing out. Peace.